In order to keep you, the little person, in your place, Quebec courts are falsifying judgments that protect the image and interests of authorities and institutions. How do they achieve this? By deliberately misrepresenting the facts by way of ignoring facts, stating false facts and applying a nonsensical reasoning to the facts. Do you find it suspicious that McGill, Canada's most prestigious university, has a record of 44 wins against no losses in cases made against them? McGill's winning record is testament to Quebec's corrupt courts. In this video, I'm going to show you an example of a fake judgment rendered by Quebec's highest court, the Court of Appeal. In this case, the defendant, McGill University, were accused of sending 120 English teachers to work illegally in Saudi Arabia. The smoking gun in this case was this visa annotated "not permitted to work," which McGill University supplied to 120 teachers. In the lower court, Judge Daniel Dortias inexplicably ruled in favour of McGill. His judgment was appealed, and the Court of Appeal unanimously granted this motion to present indispensable new evidence. This allowed the plaintiff to introduce the testimony of expert witnesses concerning the visa. So after 4 years of legal proceedings concerning the validity of the visa, the Court of Appeal came to this remarkable conclusion in their final judgment. It is not necessary to decide whether the visa issued to the appellant is appropriate. Well, that was a waste of time. After 4 years of legal proceedings, the Court of Appeal came to the conclusion that it's not necessary for them to come to a conclusion. The McGill contract states, "Contractor will be provided with the necessary visa." How can it be unnecessary to decide if there was a breach of contract in a breach of contract case? It's clear these puppet judges want to circumvent the issue of the visa. Judge Schrager, who is McGill alumni and a former McGill lecturer, shouldn't even be presiding the case. Let's go back to the judgment. As disclosed by the evidence, the type of visa issued to the appellant by the Saudi authorities with full knowledge of the facts allowed the holder to provide services to the Saudi government. That is false. There is no evidence the Saudi embassy knowingly issued visit visas for the McGill employees to teach. The Saudi embassy is the Saudi authority responsible for issuing Saudi visas. 7 different Saudi embassies and 12 Saudi embassy accredited visa agents all stated that this visa type did not permit the McGill teachers to work. The depositions include the testimony of one of the Saudi visa agents. The managing director of Visa Universe testified, "The reality is government visa will not allow for employment, that's for sure, that's the law. It is illegal to work under the government visit visa." Here we have an expert witness stating it is impossible that the Saudi embassy would issue a government visit visa to teach. The disconnect between the evidence and the judgment is farcical.
The new evidence filed by the appellant with his case management motion is not new or useful. It deals with Saudi laws and different types of existing visas and does not demonstrate how the visa issued to him was inappropriate.
When you actually look at the evidence the judgment is referring to, you realise the judgment is complete BS. This is what the judgment is referring to, Article 33 of Saudi labour law, which was entered into evidence by the testimony of a Saudi lawyer. It states, "A non-Saudi may not engage in or be allowed to engage in any work except after obtaining a work permit." That's the nail in the coffin for McGill. As the McGill teachers were not working on work permits, they were breaching Saudi labour law and working illegally. But according to the Court of Appeal's fake judgment, this does not demonstrate how the visa issued to him was inappropriate. Working legally or illegally.
What's the difference?
At most, it demonstrates the lack of clarity in the Saudi procedure. Really, so Saudi labour law, which expressly states foreigners require a work permit to work in Saudi Arabia, at most shows their lack of clarity in Saudi procedure. So I guess it doesn't demonstrate foreigners require work permit to work in Saudi Arabia. No. It continues. In particular, the witness called by the appellant confirmed that only a corporation with a head office in Saudi Arabia can obtain a work visa for its employees, which is not the respondent's situation. That's actually true, only a Saudi company can apply for Saudi work permits. But this simply demonstrates why McGill, a Canadian company, were hiring teachers to work without work permits. McGill are not a Saudi company and could not obtain work permits. But that's not a justification for McGill to hire teachers to work illegally without work permits. In fact, it's clearly not necessary for these imbeciles to understand Saudi labour law or visa requirements. The judges simply need to weigh the opinion of the expert witnesses who testified it wasn't the right visa. The visas had a maximum stay of only 60 days in Saudi Arabia, which cannot be the necessary visa for a work contract requiring a stay of 9.5 months. This was one of the grounds for appeal, and the judges turned a blind eye by omitting it from the judgment. In the judgment, it states the appellant invokes 5 grounds of appeal. The appellant actually raised 8 grounds, but the judgment only addresses the 5 grounds raised in the respondent's reply. The judges allowed McGill to dictate the grounds of the appeal, even though it's not McGill's appeal. Why not just let McGill write the judgment? Maybe the judges just had a bad day and they were tired from all that sweeping under the carpet. The judgment does not even mention the obvious fact the visa is annotated not permitted to work. There's literally no mention of it. The bias is palpable. You can get more truthful statements from artificial intelligence in 10 seconds than from Quebec courts in 4 years. These corrupt judges are not worthy of the high salaries which are paid to them by the hard-working Quebec taxpayers. They're making a mockery of the justice system by abusing their authority and placing the interests of the ruling class above the rights of ordinary people. It's a disgrace, as Trump would say.
This is a disgrace.
Stay tuned for follow-up videos that factually prove Quebec judges are falsifying judgments. If you appreciate the time I put into this video, please hit the like button. By sharing this video, you can help expose judicial corruption and help pave the way for ordinary people to have access to justice.